All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to talk about unlocking one of the most, and I mean most, powerful features in Tableau, level of detail expressions. If you really want to take your data analysis skills up a notch, well, this is it.
So, have you ever been there? You're building out a viz and you just hit a wall. You've dragged all your fields onto the view, you've got your bars, your lines, everything looks right, but the question you actually want to ask is just out of reach. It feels like you're trapped by the very view you just built.
I mean, take this for example. It's a perfectly good bar chart, right? We can see the total sales for the Central, East, and West regions. Super clear, super simple. It tells us one thing loud and clear. The West has the highest sales. But what if we need to know more?
What if this is the question we need to answer? Now, if we just drag state into our view, you know what happens? The bars just shatter into a bunch of smaller pieces. We completely lose the context of that big regional total on the same chart. And this is the exact kind of tricky, multi-layered question that a basic view just can't handle.
And this, my friends, is where level of detail expressions, or LODs, come riding to the rescue. Think of them as a special kind of calculation in Tableau that lets you call the shots. You get to decide exactly how an aggregation is computed, no matter what's actually happening in your visualization.
You know, I absolutely love this analogy. Thinking of LODs as a zoom lens for your data is perfect. You can zoom way in for a super granular look, you can zoom way out to get the big picture, or you can even lock your focus on one specific level, all without messing up your main viz. It gives you this incredible flexibility.
Okay, I know. At first glance, the syntax here might look a little intense, but trust me, it's actually really logical. First, the whole thing is wrapped in these curly braces. That's how Tableau knows it's an LOD. It kicks off with a keyword, fixed, include, or exclude, and we'll get to those in a second. Then you just name the dimension you want to calculate at, followed by a colon, and finally, the aggregation you want to do. See? Not so bad. All right, so let's break down those three essential keywords. Each one gives you a totally different kind of superpower over your data's granularity.
First up, we've got fixed. Now this one is arguably the most powerful of the three. It calculates a value using only the dimensions you tell it to, and it completely ignores everything else in your view. It literally fixes the calculation at that specific level.
So, a calculation like this one will compute the total sum of sales for each region. Period. That's it. It doesn't matter what other fields you throw into your view, like state or category or anything else, this expression will always return the total regional sales.
Next, we have include. This keyword is our zoom-in lens. It computes values using whatever dimensions are already in the view, plus any extra ones you specify inside the expression. It's perfect for when you need to dig a little deeper than what your chart is showing on the surface.
So for instance, let's say your view is showing sales by region. An expression like this lets you first calculate the sum of sales for each individual customer, kind of behind the scenes. Then you could do something cool like show the average sale per customer within each of those regions on your chart.
And our third keyword is exclude, which is our zoom out lens. Just like the name says, it runs a calculation, but it purposely ignores a dimension that you already have in the view. This thing is fantastic for stuff like calculating a percent of total. With this expression, if you have region in your view, the calculation will actually return the grand total of sales across all regions. And that lets you compare one region's sales against the overall total, right there in the same chart. Super useful.
Okay, so we've covered the three big keywords, but to really become an LOD master, we've got to understand one more critical detail, and it's something that trips up a lot of people. How these things, especially fixed, interact with filters.
Now this is where things get really interesting. A standard dimension filter, the kind you drag on, which is basically like a where clause in SQL, gets applied after a fixed LOD is calculated. And what that means is, if you filter out a region, your fixed calculation might not even change. It's already been calculated. So to actually filter a fixed LOD, you have to promote your filter to what's called a context filter. It's like telling Tableau, hey, apply this filter before you do that fixed calculation.
And this slide right here shows you exactly why that is. This is a simplified look at Tableau's order of operations, kind of like the secret recipe. And notice where everything happens. Fixed LODs get calculated way up high in the pipeline, right after context filters. But regular dimension filters, they come way later. And after that, the include and exclude LODs are calculated. Seriously, knowing this order is the absolute key to getting LODs to do what you want them to do. Okay, so we've got the theory down. Now for the fun part.
Let's circle all the way back to our original problem and see the incredible payoff when we actually put this stuff into action.
Remember our question, how do we compare each state's sales to its entire region's total? Well, with a fixed LOD expression, this doesn't just become possible, it becomes, well, pretty easy actually.
So here's how we do it. First, we create our fixed calculation to get the sum of sales locked at the region level. Step 2, we build our view with both region and state in it. And then, when we put our regular sales measure right next to our brand new LOD calculation, that's where the magic happens. The regional total gets stamped on every single state's row, which lets us do direct comparisons, calculate percentages, all kinds of deeper insights.
And look, this isn't just some niche party trick. Experts like Andy Cotgreave are always talking about how mastering the full Tableau toolkit, and especially powerful features like LODs, is what really separates a good analyst from a great one. It's what truly makes your data sing.
Oh, and for those of you coming from a database or SQL background, this might really help connect the dots. A fixed LOD is a lot like a group by clause, and include and exclude expressions, they behave a whole lot like powerful window functions or subqueries. Tableau basically gives us a super interactive, visual way to do these really complex calculations without writing all that code.
So, if you take away one thing, let it be this. Level of detail expressions are your key to analytical freedom. They let you break the chains of your visualization so you can compute values at exactly the level you need to answer those tougher, more sophisticated business questions.
And that leaves us with one final question for you to take back to your own work. Now that you've got this tool in your back pocket, what hidden comparisons, what benchmarks, what new ratios are just sitting there in your data, waiting for you to unlock them?